My name is Kristen Grubbs, and I am here to address the chaos that occurred in January's board meeting. A citizen in our community stood before you sharing his concern for the district's shortcomings over the expectation that it is to teach and protect our students. He then began reading an excerpt of from a book our school board unanimously voted to retain in school libraries in December of 2021. The speaker spoke 7 words when his mic was cut and he was interrupted by the board president. He was told that board policy prohibits speakers from using profanity. Board policy BDDH reads, "Profane language and comments that constitute a threat to the safety of others is prohibited." This policy does not define what is considered profane language. And the language being read was deemed by our board to be acceptable for students as young as 14. So why then would it be deemed profane and inappropriate for a public board meeting? Interestingly, what was shared before the speaker's mic was cut did not contain any words generally defined as profane. Even if he had said a word someone would deem profane, the board has no right to censor him. You do not get to decide what is appropriate in a public meeting when people are airing their grievances and matters pertaining to the school district in which you were elected to represent. Our First Amendment right to free speech guarantees that. Furthermore, the 14th Amendment states that a person cannot be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Due process guarantees that a law shall not be unreasonable, arbitrary, or capricious. Board policy BDDH is being unreasonable when it states that profane language is prohibited, as profane language is not defined. It is too vague, too arbitrary to be uniformly executed. In the landmark case New York Times versus Sullivan in 1964, when deciding the case, the court considered a profound national commitment to the principle that debate on public issues should be uninhibited, robust, even wide open, and that it may well include vehement, caustic, and sometimes unpleasant sharp attacks on government and public officials. In 1949, Terminiello versus Chicago declared, "The vitality of civil and political institutions in our society depends on free discussion. It is only through free debate and free exchange of ideas that government remains responsive to the will of the people and peaceful change is effected. The right to speak freely and to promote diversity of ideas and programs is therefore one of the chief distinctions that sets us apart from a totalitarian regime." So, board members, I ask you this. Will you maintain district policy that violates due process by censoring free speech through vague rules, or will you respect our constitutionally protected rights by amending this policy?